Yo guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another weekly forecast breakdown. Before we get started, we're going to have a quick look at the VIP results. And you may notice on Monday was an immediate 4% hit, and that was due to the market open. I can scroll up here to see it, go and show you guys this. And that was something like this, where we saw price take at the Asia low on Friday, the week prior, and then price sort of broke structure, came back into a fair value gap where we entered, and then price sort of just consolidated, right? So it's at this where price was very close to taking us out of stop loss, as you can see here, and then price started moving up, and I left it there. I took half, and then I left it, and then you can see where once price opened, it opened at my take profit, which is crazy. Well, it opened a little higher the take profit, so I'm sure I ended up getting slippage, but positive slippage. This is slippage in our favor, and that's exactly why we ended up making a 4% gain right on the market open. So you can see here we were pretty much done for the week. We had the confidence already going in at the start of the week. We had a 4% gain, so there's no point sort of risking heavy during that week. So I did drop the risk anyway in general, but the moves still provided because obviously we had CPI, we had PPI, so we had some decent news moves. Tuesday we didn't get into any trades on CPI, to be honest, because we tried to see any moves, but there wasn't anything there. Wednesday was a bit of a dead day, as you can see. Price is sort of just consolidating, and this was possibly due to a day before PPI as well. So again, this is why it's very important to follow those news events and maybe not trade on the days prior, because all the investors are going to be waiting for the news release itself anyway. So we came back on Thursday, and then we managed to catch this mad move on US30, which is a fantastic 1.6% with the 0.25% risk. And it was like this one, obviously we all get it, we're like, damn it, I should have risked more, but it doesn't really matter because I made 1.6%. I was very happy with it, and then we just move forward, and there will be plenty of other trades. So it's going to be this and the other US30 trade below, which is what I'm going to be talking about, because on Thursday, Friday was a fantastic end to the week. So let's get straight into it, and then I'll jump into the weekly forecast. If you guys haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment on what you enjoy on these videos, and don't forget to leave a like on the video to help with the algorithm. Right, let's jump straight into it. So you can see here on US30, right, the market has opened with a gap. Now when market technically opens with such a big gap, it may not fill it. And that's what a lot of traders tend to do. They tend to sell into the gap and then hold for the gap, and then the price reverses on them. When there's a big gap like this, and on you can see on NQ as well, where price just continued its sort of push up here, price didn't come back to the gap at all. It doesn't fill it. Same with gold, I believe. Something happened here. There's a gap, such a big gap. Price came back, tried to go there. A lot of buyers were holding to this gap, and then price ended up turning back down. So just keep that in mind. When you do have big gaps like this, price may never come back and close them. Well, it may not in the same week, may go back to close it later, but not in that same week. So something we were looking at here, as you can see, that price obviously pushed up on Monday, and then Tuesday we had that sort of consolidation with CPI. Look, again, nothing crazy with CPI. You can see it was just a bunch of chop, even though the fact that it was CPI, look at that. Compared to that Monday move, look at the difference. So again, this is why we didn't see anything on Tuesday. Then comes Wednesday, and then we got the same thing again. So very, very choppy moves. And then obviously market fell overnight, Asia session. So it's a bunch of chop for the past 2 days from CPI, and then Wednesday. So that was awful. And then market fell down towards this area here on Thursday. Now this, remember, is the weekly open price. So we want to see exactly how price reacts from here, because technically price is now fallen down into discount. As you can see, it's below the 50% level, and we have this gap below. So a lot of people are going to be looking at saying, is price going to go to this gap level? But then on the hour time frame, we ended up having a structure shift as well, which then tells us that, okay, wait, price might turn around from here. And if you drag this across, you can see that, right, this is a prior like sort of swing highs, as you can say from here, on the lower time frame they are. And then price all went up and closed above them. Now that's your structure shift. Now again, you can start looking to take trades within this area with your stop loss below there. That is a valid sort of reversal pattern. If I drop down on the 15-minute time frame, you can see this a bit more clear. You can see that price has tapped the weekly open right there, and we had a big displacement move up during London, and a lot of traders got in on this retest here. But I knew that with New York, it tends to go a little lower than that entry to take out all the early buyers, and we still had some fair value gap left, as you can see from here. right? That's the one that was left, and you can see that's right where price tapped in at 9:30, 9:15, 9:30. So after we ended up getting this structured break right here, you can see that there's fair value gap left, and your stop loss can go below there. However, because we wanted to see a reaction first, if I go back down onto the 5 minute time frame, you can see the amount of chop we ended up again. If you entered here, fair dues, you could have got in with stop loss below there and you would have been safe. But I was waiting for another sort of confirmation with a break of structure, and you can see that happen exactly around about here, where we have a swing point right there. We had another displacement candle which created a fair value gap, and then we just basically entered on the lowest fair value gap here just so we have better risk to reward. Price came back in, tapped, moved up, came back in again to take out that low, but we stayed strong. The fact that it came back in twice doesn't mean that, oh, this is now going to go to SL. Look at where the candles closed on the 5 minute. This is what I wait for. I wait for the close of the candle. The candle then closed outside. The second candle again closed outside, so nothing even happened. This is just to take out some traders who had their stop loss at entry, all that good stuff, you know, and we're still in, and then the market absolutely moved up. And once we got here, we had take profit one at the opening gap of the day, as you can see to the left here. Take profit one there, that was decent, and then from then on, the market just continued to rally and took out these highs right there. That was the target. And then you potentially could see what happened towards the end of the day is market ended up almost taking it took out these equalizers over here and almost took out that, but that was a move for the next day. So that was your fantastic move at 1.6%. And then came Friday, where pretty much similar thing happened, where we had a key high at the top here that was left, right? And I'll go up in the higher time frames and you'll probably be able to see that. Is if price took out this key high like New York, then I wouldn't have traded this move. We potentially would have looked for a sell because of how bullish it was towards the end of the week. But price had left this key high, and I sent this in the free group as well, guys. So if you guys are not in the free group, please do join, because I'm just dropping my analysis in here just to help some of you guys as well, especially on US30. And this was the move right here, right there. So I called it by saying that I'm expecting price to drop below the Asia low, right? And then for price to then move up towards the buy side liquidity. This is a liquidity collection move and a power of three. If you guys know what the power of three is, you can see that we had accumulation over New York. Then we had manipulation when price sort of started pushing up at London. And then price came back down again, a part of the manipulation to take out all the early buyers, take out some of the sellers as well. Price took out the Asia low, and it was here where price was chopping around. I'll show you on the 5 minute time frame exactly how this looked. You can see that price left liquidity below, right? And it was at this point I was saying, is price going to go back down lower? Now I had to make the executive decision to say, right, let's look to enter around this area. Why? Because we had the news release at 10. Market opened with a gap, as you can see. Like, look at these dodgy candles here, and then price left a fair value gap. Now, is this fair value gap I was watching to see how price reacts. Price survived on this fair value gap, and now I'm looking for another break of structure after here. So then on the 5 minute time frame, we can see that price moved up and then started to close outside this area and left a fair value gap. I started to enter on the 1 minute time frame here because I was watching the market very closely, and it was on the 1 minute time frame where you can see this high right here was broken, and then price came back in towards this area here. So I entered here, stop loss below all the mini fair value gaps here. You can see how close price came towards our stop loss, and however price then ended up moving up and came back down to that 5 minute fair value gap. Looked like it was going to hit our stop loss again, but then after that, price flew straight to the target, and then that was it done. And then price obviously continued pushing up. Look how high it pushed up after. And then market fell back down. And this is why it's very clear to say when the market's about to close, please do take your profits as well, because sometimes indices just absolutely drop off the face of the earth towards the end of the week as well, to rebalance and to potentially create that weekly candle. So that's that for the weekly forecast. That's that for the weekly breakdown. Sorry. If you guys enjoyed that, don't forget to leave a comment in the video. But we're going to jump straight into the weekly forecast now. So we're going to start off with gold as usual. Now, gold, very, very interesting. This is exactly what I was looking for a few weeks back, where price to fall into this weekly fair value gap here. And you can see the price has done just that, where it's tapped into this weekly fair value gap now, and it's rejected it, right? Which is a good sign for a bullish play. price again pushed up, but then pushed straight back down. So gold has been playing weird. No, it isn't. It has a lot of sort of consecutive moves where price just continued its push up, and then it had a very deep retracement, and a lot of people were like, yo, what's gold doing? Is it selling off again? But again, in terms of fundamentals, I don't really care much about it. A lot of my trading is done just based off technicals, and obviously if it works, then it works, doesn't it? So you can see the price here pretty much pushed above here, created a market structure shift, and then price came back down to a big retracement and tapped back down into this fair value gap here. I wanted to see price tap this order block right there, but it didn't, and then price created a shift just at 8 a.m. and then continued its push up, and it was around this shift that we ended up getting here. You can see that price closed above and then came back down and then tapped into this 15-minute fair value gap. You could potentially wait. You could say that this was a liquidity collection because price did not close outside. But then it gave you that chance where price closed outside, took out a short-term swing low, back into that fair value gap, stop loss below the low, and then carry on that move to the upside. That was a fantastic move that you could have taken. I was obviously forward testing that. I didn't enter because I was in my indices. But going into next week, what am I looking for? So with price tapping into that weekly fair value gap, as you can see here, we then drop down to the daily time frame. You can see that price has rejected off of this wick here, 50% thereabouts. So I'm going into this week very bullish, and I'm expecting price to sort of go back into that new week fair value gap, new week opening gap right here. So I'll be looking for bullish moves going into next week to see if the price can take out this buy side and fill this gap going into next week, and to see how high this price can go from here. Again, if price wants to start taking out these lows, it can, and I'll be even more bullish if price can if price wants to take out these lows here and then maybe potentially make another move to the upside. So bullish only going into next week. I'll be looking for buys. And I'll just be looking at this daily candle, see what it wants to do, because again, you do still have a lot more gap down here if price wants to just fall back into this area, then move back up. But we all have to watch that weekly close, because that weekly fair value gap will tell us if price closes below this little area here, then price is bearish, as in like you could see more bearish prices because price has failed to hold outside this fair value gap. So that will sort of drop the confidence on the buyers for a bit. However, sometimes it can close here, as you can see with like a wick like this. That's a bad drawing. That closed below, and then price could close bullish again in the following week, and then continue its move back up. So that's all I'm looking for in gold. Nothing special in terms of price action, because a lot of the move has already started from last week. So it's just a point of sort of getting in on the move. You could see gold absolutely push to the highs here during Asia and market open potentially. So it's just about how we can get in. If sort of targets get hit, if this gets filled at the start of the week, I will make another video to sort of help with this weekly forecast. But that's it on gold. Let's quickly switch over to US30 and see what's going on here, because this little price action you can see is all isolated in this sort of range here. You can see we had a push, we had a retracement, we had another push. Very, very clean price action here towards the end of the week. And you love to see it. But I'm going to take off all of these drawings and we'll see where price is going next. Let's get rid of this, get rid of that, and get rid of this. Let's just get rid of that. And that's a weekly open, and we keep the gap there. So now price has tapped into this volume imbalance, right, which is you get on the potential weekly time frame. You can see there's no bodies closing in this area. So this tells me there's a lot of sort of resistance in a way here, where you can see that the price is failing to close up in here. Obviously I'm not taking this as a sell now, because price is tapped in here. Because if you look at the daily candles, right, we're still continuing this uptrend. Obviously we have this gap which may be targeted going into next week, so I'll be looking for that. Because if you look at this daily close, it failed to close outside of the highs here, and it just about got the prior daily high here, so it closed outside here. So going into next week, I would like to see potentially see what price wants to do. Does it want to sort of push back up, take out the weekly high, and then sort of start giving us that bearish move back down towards the gap? That could be a possible play. Or does it want to start off the week with price pushing down first into this gap to then continue it's push up. So going into next week again, it's going to be quite key to see exactly how the week starts to how the week ends. Because if it starts off continuing bullish, I'll maybe look for some sell positions depending on how the daily closes look. You can see here, if you looked at the daily candles, you can see that this was a bullish candle, right? So you were going to go into Tuesday looking for a bullish move, but it may have not set up, right? So then price created a bearish candle. So then Wednesday would have been more likely to be bearish because the prior day was bearish. So you're expecting the prior day to be bearish. Now again, you got a bearish candle here. However, with Asia session pushing down and then pushing into a key area, like I said, the weekly open, as you can see that price has retested that weekly open. This is where you're likely to see a bullish move. Now with Thursday's close being bullish, and it was very strong bullish, I was going into Friday being bullish again. Why? Because we had the target, and this is exactly how I look for my daily bias, depending on how the last day is closed and where we are within the range. So we are within the volume balance now, and Friday closed a bit weak. So I'm not going to be sort of very strong on buys on Monday. I would like to see exactly how Monday sort of closes. If it closes very strong bullish above here, right, then we'd like to see exactly how Tuesday goes, and to see if Tuesday potentially wants to give us another bullish move, and if we're going to sort of keep climbing towards these highs up here, right? So you want to see exactly how these markets closed on the prior day to provide your bias going into the next day. And that's what's been helping me across this whole bullish move here, because there's no point selling if there's no clear sell candles that are breaking structure. Yes, we had this one here, but look at Wednesday closed bullish again, which allowed Thursday to be a very bullish move to take out the highs, which is a very good move. So that's a quick little talk there. Let's go over to US100 and let's end off the video here. So with US100, you can see that price is a little higher in the range here. You can see it's very close to the all-time high. So I wouldn't be surprised if price wants to continue to take out this all-time high again. You can see that price is within a weekly fair value gap, but I'm not selling. It's not telling me that, you need to start selling. Yes, look at the candles, they're starting to slow down, so we could get a potential fall off at the start of the week for a continuation. So that's what I'm going to be careful of across the two pairs here. We have tapped in to a daily fair value gap, as you can see right there, tap, and price is starting to close lower. So look at this daily candle close, a very weak fail to close above the prior daily high, right? So we potentially could see a bearish move going in on Monday. So if I make this into a red box and a red box, something like that, it's actually black on my candle, but it doesn't matter. You guys understand that red is a bearish candle. We could see price tap back into this weekly fair value gap here in this area to give us a proper pullback, take out that swing low, and then move back up. Or we could see that price continue bearish moves going after the start of the week back into this area to then move back up to continue the bullish move until we see a proper structure break. I'm not going to be starting selling these stocks at the moment, US100 and US30 at the moment, because we are very close to these highs, and I have a feeling that we could just slow down here, consolidate, and then make another move for these highs. So very close. We're along this move. We're involved in this move, which is good. We're not just sitting on the sideline. So let's keep it going. If you guys haven't already, if you want to keep updated with my analysis, join this free group. The link is in the description and it's on my free channel. And if you guys want to get access to VIP, check the pinned messages. You'll find the links there. And that's pretty much it. It's been a Waste FX. Peace out.